they made this big move for Trey Lance last year, 3 first-round picks in the third. It was unprecedented. It was so aggressive. A lot of people assumed, man, they love this kid. They know more about him than us, Trey Lance, and he's going to start right away. Didn't happen. It was pretty clear from the moment training camp started that the plan was for Trey Lance to be the backup. Now, he was clearly better than Jimmy in camp, in my opinion, but Jimmy got 95% of the first team reps, and you couldn't really compare them because Trey was going against backups on defense. Is it possible that Kyle never really gave Trey a shot last year because of his own timeline, his own stuff going on? I mean, think about it. If he had missed the playoffs last year, it would have been 4 to 5 years he'd missed the playoffs. I don't know any coach who can do that without being on the hot seat, no matter who your dad is or what your last name is or what they think of you. That's just unacceptable. So in a sense, he was sort of in a must-win season, and it's kind of hard to ask a 21-year-old quarterback to save your job. Is that what happened last year? Did Kyle ask Jimmy to save his job?
I think that definitely played a part in his decision-making, whether he was, outwardly open about that within the staff. In his head, as a coach, especially a coach with an ego, you're looking at your win-loss record constantly. And, right now, what is he? 39-42, 48% winning percentage. So he's still below 500.
Yeah.
Before last season, what does that make him? 29-30. Excuse me. What was his? Yeah, 29-35. 29 wins, 35 losses going into last season. I promise you that weighed heavy on his mind. And he knows that, hey, with Jimmy, he's going to do what I ask. We may not be able to win the Super Bowl.
But we'll win more games than we lose. Yeah.
Yeah. And with Trey, it's an unknown. So I think that really played a part, whether he's willing to admit that to anybody or not. As a head coach, especially a head coach with ego, you're looking at that win-loss percentage. You're looking at your job. You've had one winning season up until last year. You had one winning season out of 4. Now you have 2 out of 5 winning seasons. So I think it'd be naive to think that didn't play a part.
Yeah, I think, if he had been a first-year coach, there'd be no excuse to play Jimmy Garoppolo last year. But the fact I kept saying, man, it's better to get these growing pains of Trey Lance out of the way in year 1 than to delay them to year 2. Because what if Trey Lance looks like a guy who hasn't played football in 2 years this year? That's the Niners' fault. But the Niners, Kyle probably made the calculation like, yeah, that's true. But if I play Trey this year and we don't make the playoffs and we have a losing season, what if I get fired and then he's someone else's quarterback? I mean, I can't let that happen, right? Everyone has to be a survivalist to a certain degree. I'm not saying the Niners would have fired him, but he might have been on the hot seat. It would have been a whole different thing. So maybe he's like, look, I got to do what I got to do. And Jimmy, what was really funny is if they understood that and Jimmy understood that, Jimmy's like, hey, man, I saved your fucking job. And this is the thanks I get.
Yeah, and I don't even know if he would have been fired, but it's just from a coach with an ego is looking at that win-loss percentage. Even if he felt comfortable, even if I have a bad season, I'm still going to have my job. He does not want to have that bad season. I think he's going to feel more
6 games under 500 entering the season. Like, do you want that gap to grow? Because it might.
Yeah.
It might.
Do I want us to grow or do I want to shrink that gap? And I think that played a part. And this year, now that it's a little closer to 500, he's still below 500. But now that it's a little closer, maybe he feels a little bit more comfortable throwing Trey Lance out there.
See, I feel Jimmy's entered this class of quarterbacks that's very distinct. Like, no one really wants a Jimmy Garoppolo unless you're really desperate and your job is on the line, right? It's like he's like Captain Save a Coach. Obviously, you'd rather have a young quarterback with upside, but man, I'm going to get fired this year if I don't do anything. So I got to bring in someone. Matt Ryan is in that category right now.
Yeah.
Over in Indianapolis, they are desperate. And they're like, oh, man, should we get a young quarterback who's got a future? Yeah. Do we have a future? Maybe not. Let's bring in Matt Ryan, who's clearly declining, but maybe he'll save our jobs. Captain Save a Coach. Thank you.
Right.
That's Jimmy right now. And even everyone's like, I don't know if he can stay healthy long enough to save my job. Sorry. Dude.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how Jimmy is. He's a safe play. And I think, Kyle made a safe play.
The results are in. He's terrible in the playoffs. He's had 6 games. He's won 4 of them, but his numbers are abysmal. 74 quarterback rating in the playoffs and a 19 quarterback rating in the fourth quarter of the playoffs. Everyone knows you can't win a Super Bowl with him, but you could get to the playoffs with him, which will save you your job. Certain people. So I guess he appeals to those people. But like Pete Carroll's job isn't in jeopardy. What does he need Jimmy for?
Right.
People think about Matt Rule. But frankly, he found a better captain save coach in Baker Mayfield than Jimmy.
Yeah. Yeah. If Shanahan had a winning record, I think he could have rolled the dice with Trey Lance a lot earlier. I think he probably would have.
I agree. Yeah. Brian Culp says Robbie G is ranked 9th overall kickers. Oh, the disrespect.
Yeah, I saw Trent Williams ranked number 1, of course, as well. I saw that came out as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully Trent can block 5 guys this year. We'll see.
It's funny how it took him into his mid-30s to really get all of his flowers when he probably was much better 10 years ago, but he's on that crap organization in Washington and people didn't care. But now they do because he's on a good team. It's funny how that goes.
Yeah.
Crisoto 17 says Jimmy is a winner 12-9 last 21 games. Right. Yeah. And he's also 12-10 in his career when Deebo Samuel has less than 2 carries. 12-10. Oh, since Deebo's been on the team. Excuse me. He had that little run beforehand. 13-2 when Deebo carries the ball at least twice. If that doesn't say that Deebo is the X factor on this, the star with the straw that stirs the drink, I don't know what does. Man, I really can't speak English today. I'll try better.